We're rolling into week 5, and today we're going to rank the top 50 wide receivers to help you set your lineups for week 5 to help you with those start-sit decisions. Before we dig in, though, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're helping you set your lineups every week, doing player rankings, and we also have videos going over every single game. On top of that, we go deeper on the waiver wire than every other channel on YouTube. And we're doing deep dives on all the trending players with the You Need series. Whoever's getting anointed up the depth chart, big news, big injuries, big trades, they get deep dives. Click that button. Stop missing out. But our first wide receiver today, our wide receiver 1, we're looking at Jaxson, Smith-Njigba. I think this is going to be a fire game script. Tampa Bay versus Seattle. I think there's going to be good movement in this game. Jaxson Smith-Njigba has been getting targets. And as we go through this list, you will understand that this is not a great week and not many slam matchups for top-end wide receivers, making it kind of sketchy here to really go with your start-sit decisions. But honestly, you're just going to have to start your studs and roll with it. At 2, Garrett Wilson against the Cowboys. I'm a little bit higher than consensus, but it's against the Cowboys. We're got elite target share right now, and we're getting volume. We've cashed 3 out of 4 games. Not just cashed, but we broke teams 20, 24, and 22, and we got Dallas here, which should be a good game script for him. At 3, Amon-Ra St. Brown on the road against the Bengals. We should get good flow in this game. He should be relatively safe. 38.2 PPR fantasy points allowed the wide receivers in the last 3 games for the Bengals. 36.4 on the season. They've bent, if not broke, to every single team they played against. I think Amon-Ra is great, and I think he's very safe, yet has the upside to blow up. At 4, George Pickens. He's getting the volume. He's getting the deep targets downfield. You got this Jets matchup. Jets around league average when it comes to allowing fantasy points to wide receivers. I think the Cowboys are just going to be in weird-ass game scripts that ends up high scoring regardless of who they play against, considering they had that against the Packers last week. And George Pickens is getting elite target volume right now. At 5, Emeka Egbuka. I like this Seattle Bucks game. I like a lot of Bucks games. And Baker Mayfield keeps it flowing. He's getting targeted relentlessly. 10 targets last week, 8 the week prior, 7 and 6. I look for him to at least get the volume. And once we get down the rankings here, you'll start seeing these matches start to trend down. At 6, Justin Jefferson against the Browns. Like I said, I hate this matchup for him. I hate this matchup with Wentz. The Browns defense is no joke. They are above league average when it comes to allowing fantasy points to wide receivers, but they broke last week to the Detroit Lions. They got a quarterback change. They're at London, so they could break again. This team might break completely due to the quarterback situation here in Cleveland. Like, that defense is nasty, but this team might break completely from coaching staff on down. Browns defense, no joke. Justin Jefferson is still Justin Jefferson, though. At 7, Nico Collins. I like this matchup for him. I think this is going to be a fire game script. Stroud has been weird this year. He's starting to kick it into gear, though. It's just been quiet, and everybody just wanted more out of this. 14, 22, and 11. And also, Tennessee's weird game scripts. Tampa Bay, 9 targets in that matchup, but got the touchdown. I think we're going to get good movement here by Nico Collins in this game. At 8, Jamar Chase against Detroit. I think it's a fine matchup with good back and forth. The quarterback play is going to have you scratching your head and wondering why. He's still Jamar Chase. He's still getting volume. Not accurate volume, but he's still getting volume. So that's something to look at. But he could explode. All they have to do is connect on a couple targets. But the volume's still there, and he's still Jamar Chase. At 9, T-Mac. He's got Miami here. Miami's in weird-ass game scripts. It could bust wide open. It could be slow. That's the type of team they are. We've seen this up and down throughout the season. T-Mac is going to get volume. He is safe when it comes to targets. He's getting 8 or more. And you can't say that about all the wide receivers in the league. He's going to get targets downfield. He's going to get opportunities. And Miami broke to wide receivers twice this year, 20 spots to Pittman and Wilson. They shut down Butte, the Patriots. They're kind of volatile, though. They broke to the Bills. They bent to the Bills, And now you're looking at T-Mac coming in here, going to get volume against a team that has broken twice. 10, Xavier Worthy. He blew up last week. I kind of kept him low in my rankings last week because I want to see how they used him coming back from that injury. Now all bets are off. We saw that. And he got anointed. And I said, hey, if he gets the workload back instantly, we're just going to anoint him. And with this week, with the matchups being how they are, I pumped him up because the volume, the speed, everything else. Jacksonville broke to Nico Collins, Jamar Chase, Ricky Pearsall and the Niners were low. T-Mac, 11.8, so they bent to them. That's his first ever game. Jacksonville on the road, too. I like Xavier Worthy this week. I like this matchup, too. I think we can get a little bit of flow here. At 11, Chris Olave. You got the Giants. I like the Saints-Giants game for movement. There's only a few games I like this week. Usually I like 3 to 5 games. There's not as many games I like this week when it comes to movement. I like this one, but it is risky due to the quarterback play. Giants have allowed 42.8 PPR fantasy points in the last 3 weeks, and they've broken to a wide receiver 3 out of their last 4 games. 3 games on the season. This is a good game for Chris Olave because he's getting elite target share. He's getting good volume. His low game was 6. Before that, 14, 10, and 13 when it comes to targets. He should be higher on Fantasy Pros rankings. He was very low. He's 20 range almost. I have him anointed. I like this matchup. I think good volume. 12, Jaylen Waddle. And I don't like the matchup so much, but I think Carolina just is a team that just gets in busted-ass game scripts to where you can't predict it, but they could blow it wide open. They're actually pretty good against wide receivers, but they get in these weird-ass game scripts where teams don't have to throw on them to start the season, so that kind of skews the numbers. I think they'll bend to him. I think he's safe to get a bend. He's safe for around 6 targets, 6, 6, and 6. Maybe you want to go away from that due to that. Maybe you want to go away from that due to that. Maybe I should bump him down due to that. That's kind of scary. But target volume, I can't see 2 other teams as dancing partners that can't give you the stranger game scripts when you're trying to predict it. I'm looking at this. It could go a million different directions. At 13, Quentin Johnston. It's time to pump him up. It's just time, my friend. 23 targets in the last 2 games. I'm worried about this Commanders game because they can be good against wide receivers, but yet they've been breaking lately. They broke the last 2 games. They also bent. I think you'll be all right. I would not be surprised if this becomes a Lad McConkey game. If the Chargers have to get a little bit creative, they are down offensive linemen. They're down both tackles now. So they're going to have to get a little bit creative. They're going to figure this out, though. And the Commanders might figure this out, how to get to Herbert. And they may have to get the ball out a little quicker. That might lend to Lad McConkey, but we got to see how this looks on the long term. At 14, Jakobi Meyers. Raiders Colts. This is a game script that I think minimally we could get moderate results. Colts are allowing fantasy points to wide receivers, and they're also pushing the pace on offense. That is just the chef's kiss. But remember, Puka Nacua raised the bar on those numbers, and then Troy Franklin had that big performance. They shut down Tyreek Hill. Alec Ayomanor just got to the fairway against them. So this could be a good matchup for Jakobi Meyers. He has missed the last 2 weeks and was so-so against the Chargers. He's due. He's due for a big target game as well. He's safe for 5+ with upside for 10 to 12 targets in this game. And with the volume being increased due to the Colts at home moving the football the way they're doing it. But Michael Pittman is questionable right now. This should be a game script with decent movement. 15, Courtland Sutton. Just getting a good flow of targets, getting the deep ball downfield. I don't like the matchup for him per se, but you're looking at his volume, 9, 4, 8, and 6. He just has to bring in the deep ball. He's scoring a touchdown in 3 of his 4 games here. He has 1 bust week. So when you're looking at the probabilities, you just keep starting him and throwing him in there. 16, Keenan Allen. Volume's king. 10 targets, 7, 11, 7. So you're probably going to be good for around 6, 7, 8 targets in this matchup. Washington will probably try to slow down the pace of this, but he's going to get that short to intermediate work, and that's going to be the safe work. He's the safer of the three, because I could just see there's going to be some games, and this could be the game where the deep ball may not connect for Quentin Johnston, and Keenan Allen's going to be soaking up that short to intermediate. At 17, Zay Flowers against Houston. Houston just gets in weird game scripts, and Houston's had some weird games in general. Tennessee, Rams, all that. They've allowed 25.3 PPR fantasy points per game last 3 games. Brian Thomas Jr. got shut down on the season, 28.6. A shade less than league average, but we're getting good flow here with Zay Flowers. Now you got Cooper Rush. I imagine Cooper Rush is going to target him pretty hard, but I'm not really anointing him either. I'm like right at market or right below market value when it comes to rankings compared to the sites. At 18, A.J. Brown. The Denver matchup is a little bit scary, but they'll bend to wide receivers. It's just Hurts isn't really connecting right now. The targets have been there, 8, 10, and 9. The volume should be there as long as this game script doesn't bust. I think there's probabilities for that because both these defenses could really slow things down. There's a good probability. There's also a probability that since we got firepower on both sides of the ball, that it could go the other way, that we could get good movement. But it's also a risky matchup here when it comes to game flow. At 19, Stefon Diggs. I got asked a question about his revenge game. So when I was looking at other rankings, I'm a little bit high compared to everybody else. I made sure to get him up there. He was like in another rankings I was seeing, big industry around 25-ish. I pumped him up. I think we're going to be solid here. I think we're going to get good movement in this game. And we're going to get targeted. 7, 5, 3, and 7. 3 being the low. So that 5 to 7 range makes sense in targets against Buffalo. And I think Buffalo's going to push the pace and going to have to make Drake May throw the football. I have him up there, and considering the rest of the wide receivers on the slate, it's hard to keep him down. You're also looking at the Bills. They're bending the wide receivers. 11, 15, 28 to Flowers, Hill, and Olave. So I think we got a good chance to at least get to the fairway. If not, bust it wide open. At 20, Marvin Harrison Jr. He's the wide receiver 2. The tight end's the wide receiver 1. So I look at it that way. I don't look at him as the main target getter because he's not. But he's getting okay volume. 6, 5, 6, and 10 when it comes to targets. It's against Tennessee, though. Tennessee's allowing a lot of fantasy points to wide receivers. 40.9 PPR fantasy points allowed per game in the last 3 games. But that's Puka, Pittman, and Collins. They've faced a lot of tough wide receivers. A lot of these wide receivers get it deep. I look for him to get a couple deep targets. He could splash. He looks like he's hitting every other game. So that is an increase compared to last season. Because last season, it was like once out of 3 to 4 game stretch, he would hit for a wide receiver 1-ish or top end wide receiver 2 week. But you're looking at these numbers here. There's a good chance he cashes. There's also a risk that Tennessee makes this a busted-ass game script. 21 is Michael Pittman. He's questionable. He may not be playing, so I bumped him down the rankings. Now, if he was healthy, he'd be up a bit. I like this matchup with the Raiders. The Raiders are around league average-ish. They're actually a little bit worse, but they're bending and not breaking to wide receivers. Boutte, Allen, McCaffrey, Odunze, 14 to 17 PPR fantasy points. So I would have expect him, if he's healthy, 100% good to go, to be around that range. I got him kind of in that wishy-washy area of my rankings because after this, it kind of goes downhill a little bit. And then on top of that, he could play. He could not play, but we're watching the injury, and I also will be in on Josh Downs if he's out, and I will anoint him at 22, Deebo Samuel. Same thing. I don't like this matchup for him. Coming in with an injury. If he was healthy, he'd be up a few spots, but it's very competitive up a few spots with a rough matchup on the road. But still, we're watching the injury report at 23, Chris Godwin. I like him. I want to see him cash, but those 10 targets is an indicator that we're going to cash soon. We're going to cash soon. We're looking at Seattle. They're less than league average, but they're also allowing wide receivers to get to the fairway. Marvin Harrison Jr., 18 points last week. Chris Olave, 15. These wide receivers are getting to the fairway. Even Metcalf got to the fairway. It was a low game. He got to the fairway. That is something to pay attention to. But another thing is they're doing well against wide receivers. So maybe Mayfield's got to get creative here, and maybe he's got to go to Godwin over Emeka Egbuka on some series. At 24, J-Mo. J-Mo has missed 3 of the 4 games for fantasy football. We got the Bengals here. We're due to hit big. The Bengals will at least bend, if not break, to wide receivers. That 4-3 speed could ignite here on the road in Cincinnati. We got cat-on-cat violence. I think the big play is highly probable here this week at 25, Ladd McConkey. I'm higher than consensus, I think. I can't remember anymore, but I think I am. I think this Washington Commanders team, as we saw the first couple weeks of the season, weeks 1 and 2, could cause the Chargers to get creative on offense when it comes to going through reads and progressions. Being down a tackle now could help Ladd McConkey as they got to get it out quicker. That could help him out a little bit. We're also due 5 targets, 7, 6, even 9 targets the first week. You're also looking at some of these matchups. That Giants matchup, yes. You also went out your tackle. You also got in a weird game script there. You're looking at the Raiders. That defense has had some weird game scripts. You're looking at Chiefs and Denver with that. Now you got the Washington Commanders. You're down both your tackles. Now we got to see how that looks. Ladd McConkey at 25. At 26, Brian Thomas. I mean, he's busted every week. He's busted. I forgot to put him in the rankings. I didn't forget. Like, I go through the names, and sometimes, like, I think I got somebody and I don't. That's just how it is. But maybe that was divine intervention because he only got you 10.6. Maybe that was divine intervention. Maybe I missed somebody, and that's divine intervention again because he hasn't cashed this year, and we got the Chiefs. Like, you're starting him with this ranking, but I'm letting you know, like, this ain't a great matchup. I think it's obvious. Like you're still starting him most cases, unless you're blessed at wide receiver, which is going to be hard this week. You're still starting him. If it was a normal week with no bye weeks and less injuries, you're probably looking at around 30-ish. You're probably looking at something like that. But at 26 this week, with how wide receiver is, you're probably starting him. At 27, Wan'Dale Robinson. Looking at Wan'Dale Robinson, we got a fire game script. I don't trust the quarterback play yet. At this ranking, I'm thinking about starting him like at flex range. I'm thinking about starting him possibly wide receiver 2 if I got hit up with bye weeks. I know a lot of people have some rough starts out there. There's some people that's starting both Cardinals running backs this week. So it's just how it is. That's just how it is. So you're looking at this. Wan'Dale Robinson has a good matchup to cash. We just got to hope the quarterback comes in and is favorable to us. At 28, Jordan Addison. Cleveland on the road. That's about it. If it wasn't Cleveland and he wasn't the wide receiver 2 with Wentz against Cleveland, I would probably have him like top 20 somewhere. Maybe 18, 19, 15, somewhere around there. Somewhere around there. Like, I like Addison a lot. I think we'll get volume. It's that Browns defense on the road on London. On the road on London. But it's still London, too. And it's Wentz. It's the Browns. The only thing that's probably the stable thing is that Browns D and maybe the Vikings D that I can really guess when I'm thinking about these offenses over the pond. But when I'm thinking about this, I think this is conservative, and it might be too conservative for me if this game script can break. I don't know if Dylan Gabriel can break a game script, so you also got to look at the other side of the ball. At 29, T. Higgins against Detroit. I might be a little bit low, but I keep thinking about that quarterback play. We haven't really hit this year. We got to the fairway week 2 against Jacksonville, and that's it. That's it. You could also make the case here. Browns defense, Denver defense, Minnesota's defense last year was nasty when it came to allowing fantasy points to wide receivers. They've been hard off this year at quarterback and everything else. Same thing with the Bengals. You got Detroit here. Maybe we can cash on the big play. But I think this is a fair ranking considering the quarterback play. At 30, Khalil Shakur. The Patriots can get in busted game scripts where it slows down. It could be nasty, gnarly. They could also break it wide open. So this is also a game script that I'm so on, but I also like it more compared to a lot of more matchups this week. So when I'm thinking about this, I think Khalil Shakur is going to be okay. I think he's okay to get you to the fairway. I think if you're going to get more than that, we got to score a touchdown and we got to bring in a deep ball. I think we're good for around 5-ish, 6-ish targets. At 31, Devonta Smith. I don't like the matchup. I think we're struggling getting to these wide receivers. We hit once this year, and that's it. This matchup might be a low-scoring snooze fest. That's a little bit ugly. I could definitely see it breaking the other way with a lot of movement, too. It could definitely happen. Both teams have firepower, but it's also very risky. At 32, Elliott Manor. The Titans, consider rookie quarterback play. Their defense is pretty scrappy considering what they're dealing with from the other side of the ball. On the road against Arizona, Elliott Manor is at least going to run a lot of routes. He's at least going to get targeted. He's at least going to get you 5+. And that's good enough to get you to the fairway half the time. And this is a matchup where he could get to the fairway. Now, him getting to the fairway is usually with him scoring a touchdown. Like, if he doesn't score a touchdown, he's not getting to the fairway. He's catching like 2 to 4 balls. That being said, that's something to notate here. He'll probably catch a few more touchdowns this year. He'll probably easily be 5+, 6+, or probably around 7 to 8-ish touchdowns. He could be more if we hit a hot streak or if Cam Ward figures it out. Elliott Manor, it's probably going to hit about every other game, the once out every 3 games. And it's also dependent on the offense here for fantasy football. I got him at 32. You know what you're getting in here. You got a wide receiver getting workload, run a lot of routes, who's just going to be volatile. At 33, Troy Franklin. Same story, really. Same story. He's running a lot of routes. He's getting opportunities. He's getting more targets. We're due to score a touchdown with that much volume. It's also on the road against Philly. Like, I'm not loving this game script, but if you need volume, you need targets, don't be scared of Troy Franklin. He's at least getting that volume. 34, Jerry Jeudy. Dylan Gabriel on the road to London. Both teams are on the road. Well, really, they're through the air, in the plane. But still, I guess most teams are in the air through the plane, though, when they're traveling. They don't take a bus. But honestly, across the pond, Jerry Jeudy, I don't trust it. He hasn't hit yet this year. He hit the fairway once, and he's getting targets. He's getting work. So if you do need work, it's Jerry Jeudy. I look for him to try to get the ball out quickly. I think they're going to hit a lot of out routes. Dylan Gabriel spams out routes. If you haven't noticed that in preseason, out route, quick. So Jerry Jeudy might hit up some of those. I look for him to rack up catches, and it's going to be yards per catch is going to be lower. It's going to be lower. It's probably going to be around that 10 to 12 range, maybe a little bit lower than that, due to how quickly they try to get the ball out. At 35, Rashid Shaheed. Maybe I'm too low here, but if you have him and say you don't like the Philly-Denver game, you don't like a couple of those wide receivers ahead of him, he's fine to anoint this week. He's fine. Target-wise, you're looking at 5 to 6 range, usually, and you're looking at him getting deep balls. This is a good matchup for that. This Giants game script is a solid one when you first look at it, unless how it could run bad is if Jaxson Dart plays like a rookie, and then all of a sudden the Saints are up. But you have Spencer Rattler on the other side. So this should be a good slap fight. At 36, Josh Downs. This is all predicated on Michael Pittman. If Michael Pittman's out, easily top 25, top 20, probably putting him in that Michael Pittman spot. If Michael Pittman's in, then I look for him to get around 5 to 8 targets. I look for this matchup to be okay. I think we got a good chance of breaking that 7.99 projection Sleeper has. At 36 right now, I'm conservative until I figured that out, but I gave you my words. That's why you watch the video and not just look at the pictures that I got. At 37, Hollywood Brown. So we did okay last week against Baltimore. On the road against Jacksonville. Worthy's there, so he's not going to be the main target getter anymore. There's going to be good volume in this game. I think we're going to see moderate to I wouldn't say high, but a little bit more than moderate movement for fantasy in this game. 39.2 PPR points per game allowed the wide receivers over the last 3 games. That's Nico, that's Chase. They can spread it around a little bit, but he's also good for 5 to 6 targets in a matchup that could be okay. At 38, Jaylen Tolbert. Against the Jets, last 2 games, 6 targets in each one. If you add that together, I hope you know that's 12. I think volume's good downfield. If you're hurting, you got him. He's a good dart throw every game because he's going to get volume. And if they're going to take away Pickens over top, Tolbert's going to smash some targets and get some good looks. At 39, Christian Kirk, underrated wide receiver right now. 12 targets in his first 2 games. You got Baltimore here. Got some good flow to look at. Christian Kirk's a good flex play. Darius Slayton is a deep ball dandy that you just throw in your lineups, close your eyes, and praise that he brings it in. You got a good matchup for that. That could be fire. We got a slap fight with these quarterbacks that are rough. Saints can push a game script. They're also at home, and you got Jaxson Dart on the road here. This is an interesting matchup for me, but I think we're going to get some firepower in this game script. At 41, Kayshon Boutte. Honestly, we had a fire week 1. We're running a lot of routes. It's reduced a lot. You have this Buffalo matchup. And the Buffalo matchup, you look at the fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. They bent or broke in 3 of their 4 games to wide receivers. I think Kayshon Boutte, if this was a regular week with no bye weeks, limited injuries, you're not starting him. I think you're chasing the fact that he's in a matchup with good movement or potential good movement. And then on top of that, he's getting work, but he's also a big gamble. At 42, Malik Washington. This could be his big moment, but it could also be like anticlimactic. He gets short targets. He gets the short target volume. Darren Waller's in here soaking up targets. You do have Carolina. Carolina gets in weird game scripts. You're seeing what they're doing to wide receivers. It's not like they're straight up shutting them out. It's like Bryce Young is just killing the game script, so we're not getting regular flow. I see this game script being fun one way or the other. Like, something's going to happen here. Either a shootout, one of these teams is going to come out and do something funky and suck or something. But 42 is where I got him ranked at. But he's a guy that you're thinking about this week. At 43, Cooper Kupp. He's got 1 game this year where he's usable in fantasy. The rest of them, no. Tampa Bay is going to be a good game script. Now, you're looking at this, and you're looking at numbers that are less than league average. But week 4, Devonta Smith. They held the Eagles in check. Kinda at those wide receivers. Everything else, no. But you're looking at this London, Collins, Wilson. Bending or breaking. Probably going to see that with these wide receivers in this game. And if they're shadowing Jaxson Smith-Njigba or slowing him down, Cooper Kupp could see some extra targets. He got 9 targets against Pittsburgh. So if they're giving up yards in the slot, Cooper Kupp could eat. 44, Travis Hunter. Mainly, this game script could cause Jacksonville to be creative. Like, if I'm a top-tier defense and I'm looking at Brian Thomas Jr., I'm probably going to figure out how to take him away one way or another, and you're going to have to go to your other outlets. They're going to try and make Travis Hunter beat them. If Travis Hunter can beat them at least enough to score fantasy points, he might be all right. He's a flex play if you got to do it. Calvin Ridley's questionable. He's also Calvin Ridley. It's also the Titans. I got him at 45. 46, Isaiah Bond. Watch how many routes he runs, his snap rate in this game. Also don't trust Dylan Gabriel, but he's a guy we're plucking off the waiver wire. If you need him, he's a gamble flex play. 47, Tyquan Thornton's a flex play that you throw in, close your eyes, and pray that he hits the big play. Snap share has reduced. Targets have reduced with Worthy back. That's something to pay attention to. But still, it's the same story because that's what I said about him throughout the whole year. Before the season, in the season, with targets, no targets. He's a gamble flex play. At 48, Torrey Horton, same thing. He's getting deep balls downfield. If we can cash in on a deep ball, then we're going to have a decent week. We've done that twice this year. He is a money ball gamble for your flex. That's what he is. You ask for start sit. You got to understand that's the asset he is. It's just a gamble. It's just a choice. 49, Brandon Cooks. I like the matchup here where something could break a little bit. He hasn't done anything in fantasy, but workload-wise, 90% snap rate, 70, 68, 76, targets 4, 2, 5, and 4. in a game script that could blow up a little bit, he could get you to the fairway. I wouldn't expect much more. Then at 50, Nick Westbrook. He's a touchdown guy. That's what we've seen throughout his career. He'll just randomly score touchdowns. Everything else, target share, volume, would not make sense. So I would expect that to not make sense. So if you got to put a prayer to the gods, this is also a game script where we could see some weird back and forth, one way or the other. Kind of wishy-washy, but I was kind of right to be wishy-washy about last night's game. There's a chance it could blow up or blow down. But Nick Westbrook is a random touchdown getter, and I think you need to recognize that for lineups and your bench. But those are the wide receivers for this week. After 50, it's kind of rough. So if you like somebody better, cool, because it's kind of rough once you get past 30. It's a rougher week here for fantasy football. Injuries, the bye weeks. It's going to be like this for the whole season. We projected that we were going to see more injuries this year. Last 2 seasons, we saw less injuries. Now it's reverting back to the mean, or maybe even a little bit higher. We don't know yet. We're only a few weeks in. But we projected there were going to be more injuries this year unless we were going to hit a new rolling average. We're not. We're back to getting hit up with injuries. The waiver wire, though, is going to be hotter every single week. Maybe we catch a break this week. Maybe not, because we're seeing more injuries roll in throughout the week in practice. Something more to pay attention to. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.